Welcome everybody to GenFriends. I'm Cheri Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy. I don't know what that noise was. It wasn't here. Somebody's trying to join us or break in. I don't know.
Is it an ancestor?
Maybe. Anyway, so we're glad to have you join us tonight. Sorry, I still hear it. I've got Melissa Barker, our archive lady, on the panel tonight. Hey, Melissa.
Hey, Cheri. Hey, everybody. Looking forward to tonight's talk.
I am too. We've got Mary Kircher, Roddy. I can't even think after that noise.
I still hear it.
From MKR Genealogy. Hi, Mary.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here.
Is everything okay at your house?
Yeah.
I think so. Okay. And Shelley Murphy, our family tree girl. Hey, Shelley.
Hello, everyone. And it's not here because I am the only one in this room right now.
It's a ghost. It's a ghost.
That's what we think.
The ancestor. Please be William Michael Murphy. Where are you?
That would be a scoop, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
a visitation on GenFriends.
And on GenFriends.
We thought that we would talk about SLIG, the Salt Lake Institute of Genealogy, tonight, and some of the other institutes that are out there that are getting ready to welcome students in the next few weeks over the summer. Mary and I just returned from SLIG Academy, and Mary, did you stay for the?
I'm an accountant,
okay,
so I can only steal 1 week of January time.
That's right.
So
yeah, what they're doing now is they're having 2 weeks. They're having the Institute the first week, and the second week is the Academy for Professionals. And so what's really interesting is the SLIG week, there was 400 and something people there. And 16 classes, something like that. There's a lot of classes.
Like that,
That's
second week, there was only 125, if that much people, and maybe 6, 7 classes, maybe more, but just much smaller and much more intimate, getting to know people a little bit better. But we thought we'd talk about it since we've just come back from there. And I know that Melissa and Shelley said they might have some questions about institutes in general. And so we thought, all right, fire away.
Well, first thing, share with us what SLIG stands for.
Okay, it's the Salt Lake Institute of Genealogy. And it's held in, did I say that right, Mary?
Yes, you did.
Okay, I was like, yeah, I'm still tired. I've been back a week and a half and I'm still tired. It's held in the Hilton Hotel in downtown Salt Lake City. That's where it's held. It's nice if you stay there and help the, institute people. But there's so many places around you can stay. Other hotels, people stay in Airbnbs, apartment buildings that they rent out. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do. But the class I took was Advanced Methods. Tom Jones used to teach it, and it's kind of like one of those classes everybody feels like you got to take if you're going to go to the institute.
Right.
This was his first year not being the actual coordinator of the class, and Paul Graham was, and he did a great job. Although Tom Jones came in, and Judy Russell came in, and the Sayers were there, and so you still have this great staff. Paul Stansberry came in.
Karen Stansberry.
No, it was Paul.
There is no Paul Stansberry.
What's his last name? Woodbury. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. See, I'm tired. I'm still tired.
Okay.
Sorry, Paul. Sorry, I know who you are. Came in and taught the DNA. And so that was really fun to take. And I took it because, it's kind of a rite of passage. But I'm grateful I took it because I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm okay. I know this stuff. I did the homework. Yes, there was homework. It was optional, but I did it. And then the second week I took the professional speaking class from Josh Taylor. So
I want to talk to you about, because I took the Advanced Methods class my second year at SLIG, which was I've done 5 now. So
yeah, this was only my second time at SLIG. Yeah.
And one of the things that it was back when Tom Jones was teaching it. And on the last day, he had us write our genealogical goals for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And I so encourage, I've written 2 blog posts about when you finish your class, write that down. Because when I went into that class my very first day, I had no expectations of anything that I would do. And on Friday afternoon, I said, I want to write an article for the Q.
Good for
And I did, and it got published.
Awesome.
And it was because I wrote
the goals.
that goal. So
make sure you give me the links for your blog posts, and I will add them in the show notes.
Yeah, because Mary, I didn't know you had a blog. I'm serious. Please share that.
Okay.
She does.
She does. It's a great blog too.
Yeah, it is. It's very good.
It is.
It'd be better if I wrote a little more often, but you know.
Well,
I
I'm
love when
not trying to do that. So, but go ahead, Melissa. And then
I
I'll
love when
ask
she
you
writes about her ancestors because the way she writes, it's like you're right there with her and her ancestors.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, I love
It's
that.
wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, Mary, tell everybody what you took.
So this year I took meeting standards with DNA evidence. And
that's heavy.
I'm happy for you.
It was fabulous.
That was Karen, right?
Well, so Karen Stanberry was the coordinator. But
explain people what it means to be a coordinator so that they'll know.
Okay, so the coordinator is the main person, and they're responsible for the course material, basically deciding what is going to be taught. The whole track. And the difference between an institute and a conference is at a conference, you float like a little butterfly from flower to flower to flower, and you can pick the sessions that you want. In an institute class, you take one course for the week, and it's a much more structured kind of thing, and you know what you're going to be taking ahead of time. So
it's a deep dive. Deep dive into one topic. Yeah.
So with our class, Karen Stanberry was the coordinator, so she was responsible for getting other people to offer parts of the class. And we had the who's who of genealogy.
SLIG typically does. SLIG does, yeah.
But this was all in 1 week. We had who's who. We had Rick Sayer. We had Tom Jones. We had David Wilmette. We had David Rencher. Angela McGee. LaBrenda Garrett Nelson. Melissa Johnson. And I know I'm forgetting somebody. And I'm sorry, I'll try to remember.
And another instructor.
And so they all presented cases. And some of them were not even completed yet, that they haven't solved it yet. But it was a chance to crawl inside their brains.
Mary, I don't want to interrupt you or not, but you just saying that encourages a lot of speakers and a lot of presenters. You said that it wasn't even completed yet, because a lot of people out there that are listening to this right now are thinking, well, I could never present because I haven't finished, or I haven't got completed, or I haven't found every piece of information. That is encouraging. Thank you for saying that.
Because you really don't have to. You need to, for me, as someone that would be sitting in a class, I want to learn some processes, and I also want to see the method that you do to say, hey, let me try that on mine. So even if you don't resolve it, you went through a process. And again, it might be someone that's sitting in there and says, hey, what about this? And that's all it took for everybody to add something new to their toolbox. And that's what I like about institutes, because it's hands-on. And again, the goal wasn't totally to complete. It was to teach you those methodologies and those type things. So I love it.
And I know, did you have homework, Mary, in your class?
No, just a reading. But the super cool thing that I'm just so... I don't know what the right verb is here. I don't want to say proud of, but so impressed with Karen Stanberry. Because she invited all those other instructors to teach, which is, I mean, it takes something to give away control of your class. And so she had all these other people, but she also had students, she called us DNA dreamers.
Yeah.
And if you had a problem that you were working on, you could contact her ahead of the class and say, I'd like help with this. And so each day, 2 people got up and presented their case and used the think tank of the fellow students and some of the other instructors who came. Have you thought about this? What about, looking at these? You need to follow up with this kind of records or whatever. And so we got, the students who presented, and I was lucky enough to be one of them, got some ideas from the other classmates, and the students sitting in it and watching it got a chance to see now actually Monday was only one problem. So we got 3, 6, 7 more problems in addition to the instructor's cases.
Wow.
Where we saw strategies and tools and time frames and locations and where you might not have known about records or record types.
Fabulous way to learn.
Sounds
Especially
great.
DNA. Yeah. What a fabulous. Because a lot of times you go and you listen and they're telling you the process, and then you sit back and you go, okay, but now how do I put this into practice? How do I do this? So that's what you were learning is exactly how to do that. How fun.
It was really great.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I want to ask my questions.
Okay.
Because I have not been to SLIG. I've been trying to get to SLIG. And I will eventually get to SLIG.
All right.
And again, it's just working out calendar and time frame.
Sure.
So for a new person, like our listeners as well as myself and Melissa, which track or section would you suggest first? And in other words, what do you think is the best strength besides what we just mentioned for a newcomer? Should it be a newcomer that doesn't have any genealogy experience, or is SLIG for, I think of Maggie in track 1. They always try to call my track 1 beginners, and it's not. You can't come in there and not have some experience.
Yeah.
You will be lost. So, and I want to know if that's the same type thing. And in that first track that you went to, and I keep saying track, did you feel lost, or were you able to breeze hang in there, and did you have homework?
I would say that SLIG is more for an advanced genealogist.
Advanced or intermediate?
Well, it depends on the classes. They used to have Paula Stewart Warren's advancing, what was it called? Taking your research to the next level. And I took that one the first time I went, simply because I'd never taken a SLIG class before, and I wasn't sure. So it was a good reminder of things that I was doing. And it was a great class. So I think what I would do is I would have people really look at the class. You can click on it and see what you're going to be doing during the week and see if it looks like something that you feel comfortable with or not. What would you say, Mary?
They actually, you can't be a beginner genealogist. You have to be probably at least an intermediate level, but it's not necessarily the classes that would build on each other.
Right.
They really have different topics. So, with the exception of the advanced methods class, but they would have a class on church records or Virginia research or Scandinavian genealogy. So it wouldn't be that you would need something, to build up to taking the class on Scandinavian, other than some familiarity, and you would take it because you're interested in Scandinavian genealogy.
Exactly.
So,
it would definitely not be for a beginner, though. I think it might be too much for a beginner. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely an intermediate, I would say,
for those classes. So like I said, it just depends. Go ahead, Shelley.
Is the tracks or classes built in that you follow through with one instructor? Or like you spoke about the track you took, Mary. So was everything connected? You said you did DNA. So were all of the classes DNA related that you took?
Yeah, they all had it. They were, were trying to solve a problem with DNA. And most, I've taken 5 SLIG classes and then 1 virtual class through SLIG. And most of them have the course coordinator who probably teaches, I don't know,
2 or 3
50 to
something.
60% or 70 or in 80% maybe even of the course, and then has other people come in for occasional sessions. But you know, some of the classes it would have, you know, more different instructors coming in, and I think my roommate,
but they still concentrate around a theme.
It's a theme.
Yes.
Yeah, it's on a particular
like
topic.
Like my advanced methods, it was different when we talked about land records. Of course, Rick Sayer comes in. You know who you know, we talked about the law. Judy comes in. So so they do.
So I see very similar things. That's the same thing we do at Maggie. Same type thing, you know. And so we make the track, so they're getting 12 classes over 3 days. And so they all connect around.
Right. The coordinators figured out what
they work together and then figured out. But like I said too, if you're interested, and when they announce the courses, now I know the courses have been announced for SLIG for next year, but you can't register, and there's no real information about each of the courses. But once that comes on, you can actually click and see exactly what is going to be taught in that class, and that can help you make your decision. And then the classes for next year's academy come out on March 1st. So I don't know what's going to be taught there yet. So but that too is, I mean, people say, oh, it's the academy for professionals, I have to be a professional to go. No, it's just it's fills that niche for people who are professionals or want to be a professional, but it's just researching or producing work at that level. You don't have to be a professional, but if you want to give your family your best, it's like people will get their CG and never take a client, you know. It's just what you want to do. So
I like that.
So they had several, you know, good classes. They had more DNA things going on, and like I said, I took the speaking the speaking class.
What's wrong with that? I think that's excellent.
The speaking class was great until you read it and you realize you've got to give 2 8-minute presentations.
You gotta speak.
And you gotta speak.
You could not only do you have to speak. One of them was with a PowerPoint, the other without a PowerPoint. And so I'm the kind of speaker that throws that PowerPoint up and just, I never read my notes. I just kind of go, okay, and I keep me on track, and I look at the pictures, right? Well, I had no picture, but the worst thing was you're getting critiqued.
Right.
That's good.
But it's good, but it's a different way to give a presentation, because when you normally give one, you're saying, oh, these people wanted to hear this topic, I hope I do a good job for them. But when they're taking notes in front of you, you're thinking, what I do, you know, I'll never get asked to speak anywhere again, because they're writing down everything I do wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's more being hard on yourself, because you're probably, whatever you were doing, you've been doing it for a while. And you're good at it, and people do ask you this. So I think that's a little bit you're going through.
It was just different.
We all will probably go through it.
Yeah,
because
but I would
a little out of your comfort zone, because you needed the pictures or that lead in.
And you know, I was less nervous doing the one where I had no PowerPoint than I was doing the PowerPoint, because we were using the instructor. It was Josh Taylor. We were using his Apple computer, which none of us, I think 2 people in the class, and so we go up there and go, is this going to work? Because then you've got it built in your head. Is the tech going to work when I get up there? Am I going to hit the button and it's not going to work? So I was more nervous doing the one with the PowerPoint than I was without the PowerPoint, because I didn't have to worry about tech. I could just get up there and spew something out of my head and hope it made sense. But go ahead.
Well, did you take a portion of one of the talks that you give? I know you speak a lot. So, and for both of them, is that what you did?
That's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did.
Good.
And so I got some really good hints on some things that I can change for my Roots Tech. Not change. But as I sat there and I was thinking about things that they were saying, I thought, oh, I can do this one better by, you know, tweaking this or that. So that was really good. And we got feedback, you know, from everybody that was watching, so you could see. So I would recommend it if you want to speak, or if you've been speaking, or even if you just want to, you know, speak to your family and you know, at family reunions and stuff. It was a really good class. I would really recommend it. And everybody was so supportive. Nobody was acting like, oh. You know,
except for Cheri.
Except for Cheri, right.
But I mean, to each other in the class, we were very supportive, and we've contacted each other afterwards, started a Facebook page, you know, for each other, to help each other and things like that. So I would very much recommend taking that class. If he offers it again, I would recommend taking it. So,
well, I will say that even though I have not been at SLIG in person, I believe I was at SLIG in someone's presentation this time.
Ooh.
Because Cheri posted to Facebook.
You did? Yep.
Yep. And who was it?
It was Pam. It was Pam Sayer. Mm-hmm. Pam was talking about archives, which is her, you know, specialty. You know, she teaches the land record program with her husband, but she loves the National Archives. And so she was recommending one of Melissa's articles in class. Awesome. And so I got on and I said, Melissa. and then Pam saw it. I think she thought, no, it's all good. It was a good
But she forgot.
Pam.
She had asked me if she could use it before. It's been a while, but she had asked me before.
So I think that's wonderful.
So yes, Melissa had a guest appearance at SLIG this year.
But we all know that when, you know, someone who we believe is, I mean, in a weird way, like higher up in the hierarchy when it comes to speaking and teaching, when they use some of your material, you feel very, very flattered and very, very, you know, like, okay, I'm doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's the sweetest thing. So she
is.
It was fun having her in the class. So that was really,
I felt like I was there in spirit.
You were. Now, unfortunately, as it happens every year, people start getting sick. When you get a group of people together for that long that have flown in airplanes and people start getting ill. And we had one of the instructors, Angela McGee, got sick.
Oh, no.
So the second week, she had to find people to take over her class, but she was diagnosed with the flu. So,
oh, my God.
Yeah, it was wonderful to watch the staff at SLIG come together and people, you know, step up and teach certain portions of the class. And she was back Thursday of that last week. She was able to come back and wasn't contagious anymore. But
well, and I heard one of the instructors of the second week actually broadcast her talks via Zoom, so the sick people in their hotel rooms can watch her sick students.
Yeah, isn't that something? That one class just, for some reason, it was the forensics. It was the forensics class, which is something I would like to take.
Right.
They just.
But there were people that were sick and couldn't get to
like
class.
Flies. They just
and they didn't want to, you know, coughing all over everybody because they, you know, paid their money to attend the class and they were going to go regardless. So I think it enabled people to actually attend the class.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Yeah, that was really nice. So, and there's a lot of other things that goes on in SLIG too. There's always a banquet. They always have a welcome night where they have a speaker that comes in and, you know, you eat and they always have door prizes and they're giving away stuff, and they've got their Maya's Books is always there, and the CG people and the ICAP Gen are people, BCG people and the ICAP Gen people are there, so you can go and look at all the portfolios and
the Association of Professional Genealogists had a booth there as well.
Yeah. You've got the SLIG swag they're selling, you know, so you can get your shirts and your all sorts of.
J. Paul Hawthorne, he's got his swag on.
Always good. He's great. He's always there taking photos of everybody. This year we had a lock-in at the Family History Library. So the Saturday in between the 2 weeks, they kicked everybody else out at the normal 9 o'clock. We all had to go down into a room. We had to leave what we were doing and all gather in a room. They cleared out everybody else and then let us in for 2 hours. So there was 100 of us running through all those floors. not having to fight over a machine, or it was so much fun.
That's wonderful.
It was a lot of fun. So they do those kind of things. There's usually a family history day there, and they'll have little classes going on. You can learn different things. And I did a class too on resumes, genealogy resume, and using LinkedIn. So if I start, sending all of you guys LinkedIn, that's why.
Go for it.
Because I wasn't using it right before, so I learned how to use it. But
the whole marketing thing with LinkedIn.
Yep.
Yes.
And so there's more going on during the week than just your SLIG classes. And there's a lot of networking. And hey, let's all meet up this restaurant. Everybody goes and meets and eats and talks and has a good time, because there's a lot of stuff around there to go and
some of
meet.
the companies like Ancestry and Legacy Tree Genealogists.
That's right.
Will have an evening where they will invite people who might be interested in working for them or seeing what it is that they do, come in, serve them a little food, get a chance to network and learn about the companies.
Yeah, exactly. So there's, like I said, there's lots of other little things that are going on. I said I had homework, but it was optional, so I was able to still socialize and go to the networking things and all that and get my homework done, which they had said they wanted it to be that way, instead of people feeling like I can't go to anything else because I've got all this
That's
homework.
the way I was when I took advanced genealogy. I was just, I couldn't. I didn't feel like I could participate in anything.
And so they wanted to change that, is what they're saying, because they didn't want people to be afraid of taking the class too because of all the homework.
Right.
And so I did the homework because I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing, and it wasn't anything horribly hard. It was time consuming, but it wasn't, it wasn't overwhelming.
So did you feel you had enough time to do homework in the evening?
I did.
Okay, great.
I did. I mean, I still made sure I went to bed before midnight, and I know that, I know that there have been some
Which is
years.
normal.
Well, yeah. I know some years people have been up all night, and how do you learn then the next year if they've given you so much homework that you can't even go to bed? And so I think they've decided that maybe that was a bit too much, and they needed to pull back, because they don't want people to go, I paid all this money and now all I'm doing is homework. But the homework is good too, because it puts into practice the things you've been learning. So I think there's a fine line between too much and enough to make sure you've learned the concept. So I think they did a really good job, at least in my class this year. And so, and even the speaking class had homework, but it was more of, put together a proposal, that kind of thing. And then we turned it in, and it was optional as well, but we turned it in, and then he looked at it and said, hey, this is good, this is bad, not bad, but maybe you might want to think this way or something like that. So you learned, and you get this. I got the workbook. I know a lot of people like to just get their stuff online, but I like the book.
I like paper.
I want the paper. Well, I take notes. on in a 3-ring binder, and then I come back and I go over my notes and the class, and then the notes and things I want to keep and the ideas, then I transfer them over to my book to keep, and that's just how I do it. So, but so for me it was great. Will I get to go back next year? I hope so. I don't know. I would love to think that I can go back, and I would encourage
anybody. I think there's scholarship opportunities also. There
are scholarship opportunities, and I will add that link. And a lot of those you can find. We had Conference Keeper on, and a lot of those scholarships you can find on Conference Keeper. So actually the first year that I went, I actually won the newbie scholarship, and that's how I got to go. That's how I got to go. So I was very surprised, because I'm not a real winner of things. So I was very surprised. Mary, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, it is, it's a significant amount of money to attend an institute. You have your travel getting there, you have your accommodations when you're there, and the tuition at the class. So, there are ways. I have always had a roommate. My first year, I roomed with a stranger, and we have become friends now. And that was really nice. So
I love having a roommate.
I do too. And I was actually at a meeting last week, and I was all by myself in my hotel room. And it was so lonely. I got up in the morning and it's like, yeah, we're getting up now. There was nobody to talk to, so I just talked to myself.
It is nice. And it's really nice too when you've got a roommate that's taking something different than you, because then you sit there and you can talk about the classes, because it's not like you can say, okay, I want to go to this class, but I'd like to buy the syllabus for another different class. You can't do that.
Right, yeah.
You can't do that. You can't share your syllabus, things like that. So
That's
at
good.
least, I mean, so at least you can kind of talk about what you're learning, and they can talk about it, and then it's ideas for the next time you come and things like that. So it's always good to have a roommate.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to share
and
a little
somebody you
story.
can go to eat with too, and not eat by yourself. Go ahead, Shelley. What's your story?
I will share my little story.
Okay.
Because I took the week institute up at the National Archives.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a roommate for a whole week. That person was working on their CG, and I was working on my doctorate at the same time, taking this week long. You know, and you guys, have you done the week at the National Archives?
I haven't. I want to.
That's another
GenFed?
one to do.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah.
So my roommate was Judy Russell.
Oh,
And this was about 20, I think we went in 2010 or 2011, something like that.
Yeah.
Yes. I was working on my doctorate and she was working on her CG at the same time. But the fabulous thing was that, you know, we're at the National Archives, and at the time, the gentleman that's over, and I'm going to go blank, his first name is David, his last name is Italian. Mm-hmm. He had white shoes on. He probably still wears them. I'm saying white shoes like Pat Boone. You know what I mean? He's the head archivist, and he walks into the classroom and he says, "Welcome to my house."
Aww.
His name is David Ferrio.
Thank you. And he's Italian roots. That was him. And he talked about, you know, the importance of doing it. And at that time when we were there, he shared that, you know, he was the only one that was doing the family history type thing, genealogy in his family, and finding all these interesting things and good stuff in Italy and all this kind of stuff. It was really good. It was really good. And the classes, it was a lot of information. And when you go to GenFed, it is overwhelming because there's so much coming at you. But I loved every minute. Every minute.
That deals with the National Archives. Do you do the DAR too? And
we went to DAR and also College Park. It's been a few years. So we went to another site as well.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the DAR. And that was my first time going to DAR headquarters.
I would like to take a whole year and just schedule it and institute hop. Just do nothing. Just all, I mean, I'd have to win the lottery. But
so we'd have to win the lottery. Yeah.
I would just like to. So if anybody would like to, I mean, I could write about it. I could. If anybody would like to send me on a year-long journey.
Sponsor Cheri.
Sponsor me for
GoFundMe.
GoFundMe so I can go for a whole year of institutes. Wouldn't that be so cool? Oh my gosh.
That'd be wonderful. But it was, GenFed was a really good that week. And again, the information was overwhelming.
Oh yeah.
Because as a user, only maybe getting up to the National Archives once a year.
Right.
I was off in Michigan.
Not a lot of time to practice what you're learning.
Yeah. Right. So I didn't have the access like I have now, only being a couple hours away.
Right.
And it was very overwhelming, but I still have the binder and everything in it. And my notes. So I do notes the same kind of way you do. I do them right there. I want the hard copy. So.
And things, you know, things pop into your mind right there. And I write them. And if I can read my handwriting when I get back, that's good. And then I can transfer
I wound up with little sticky tabs of different colors on my pages. And I was like, okay, well, I can use this for my own family research ideas, or here is a teaching technique that the instructor used that I would like to apply when I'm teaching.
I love
different
that idea.
colors. So.
I love that idea.
That's
Thanks
great.
for sharing that. That's great.
Tip from Mary.
Tip from Mary. Yeah. And you know what? That can go for to anything you're doing. Listen to a webinar, going to a conference, listening to GenFriends.
I hadn't set out to do it. The deal was, it's like I wanted to have a tab so I could refer to the agenda, because it was kind of, it wasn't like the first page of the book.
Yes.
And so I found at the bottom of my backpack that I'd gotten at another conference, this little package of different color sticky tabs.
Yeah.
So I put that on and I thought,
I love it.
I can use this color and that color and that color.
Yeah, I love it. That's a really, really good idea. I love it. So Melissa, go ahead. I was just going to ask Melissa if she had anything, and then I was going to give Shelley some time to talk about Maggie, since that's her.
And then we want to go to GRIP too.
Yeah, we want to talk about
Mary, you mentioned you took one class virtually. Could you elaborate a little bit more on what they offer virtually?
Yeah, so they started offering virtual classes, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I've taken one as well.
And there's they started out with the Advanced Evidence Practicum, where you get it. I took it live, and I got a case every day, and you have 24 hours to solve it. And I'll tell you, that's
when you don't
Friday,
sleep. Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't even speak.
Right.
Wow.
But with the Advanced Evidence Practicum, you do a case a week.
Yes.
They offer that.
Yeah.
They offer an intermediate genealogy class. So if somebody wants to kind of feel like they get that baseline, that is a class. Sarah Scribner teaches that one. So that would be a great one to kind of get your feet wet in institutes. You don't get quite as much of the networking and stuff that you do because you're at home wherever you are.
Right.
But they did actually, there were a lot of people that had taken that were at SLIG. And so I think they got together, and so that was pretty cool. In the fall, I did the Advanced Evidence DNA Practicum, and it was a different DNA case with a different instructor for each case. So I think we had Paul Woodbury and Karen Stanbury and Tom Jones, and I forget who. And so we had 5 cases for that. And so you have a week to do your homework or whatever for the class, and then you meet, I think, for a couple of hours.
Yeah,
at least that's what we did, like 2
and
hours in a Zoom room.
It's all virtual, so it's a good way if you can't be there for that full week, to be able to take these classes. So they're offering more and more. So we will put the link for that so you can see what's coming up in the show notes. That'll be there. We were also gonna talk about Maggie, and we're gonna talk about GRIP, because that's coming up too. Do you want to talk to us about Maggie?
Well, Maggie, real quickly, is a 3-day institute, and it's being held the last 5 or 6 years. It's been at the Allen County Public Library in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which, of course, there's a reason for that too, because people have access to do research as well.
Right.
And
it stands for, Maggie stands for, what is the
Midwest African American Genealogy Institute. So it's focused on people that are researching African ancestry. So it's for professionals, or it's for the family historian. It's not necessarily, like I said, for the beginners. And we have 4 tracks that we handle. We have track 1, which is the one I oversee, similar to like you explained about SLIG. I have, I'm the coordinator for track 1, and there's a 1A and a 1B. So track 1A is methods and strategies. So we're walking through getting the tools like doing a timeline, how to do analysis, and getting people started on that aspect. And it might be certain record sets. Because as you know, if you're researching African American ancestry, you have to expect challenges, no different than your European ancestry. But sometimes you might have to look in different places for it, or research, like if my ancestors were enslaved, I need to also research the slaveholder's family. So you're doing both. And so this is one way of getting people going and being organized with what you do.
Right. And so that's in July, right? It's in July?
It's July, yes. Yeah. It's always right after July 4th.
Right.
And just as an example, when I mentioned Judy earlier, she actually is one of the instructors and has been with us probably the last 5 years.
Right.
And she does public records in the law.
Yeah.
But she also does slavery in the law.
Oh,
and so she's taken them through, you know, the research and in-depth and so on.
If I really did start a GoFundMe, it's going to be to go there. So I want to go.
Well, there's scholarships for
you know it's on my bucket list. I want to go so badly.
Well, they have DNA track too, so they do have the beginners and intermediate for that one, along with the pre and post slavery era. And then we have Angela Walton Raji does the 5 civilized tribes, the freedmen.
Right.
And being able to research those records. So again, we have very similar to SLIG, except we have the infamous brick wall night. And if you ever get a chance to see that, it's on Wednesday night. We take over the lobby of the Courtyard Marriott. And it's usually about 50 people in there, if not more. Our classrooms are small, so that's another thing on the side. But we take over and everybody pitches their brick wall. And there's your think tank because everybody is concentrating on everybody's brick wall. So you can register now, MaggieInstitute.org. So actually, and I love it. I've been involved from the beginning. And it keeps growing. We're going into our 8th year.
That's nice. Wonderful.
So it's really good. Yeah.
Now, Mary, you've been to GRIP. Anybody else beside Mary been to GRIP? Shelley, have you been to GRIP?
No, it seems like Melissa? I took it. Didn't GRIP have online class, some virtual stuff a few years ago?
I don't know. I don't remember them doing, but they may have. I don't know.
What is the other thing? And Michael Haight was involved.
The virtual. There was a virtual genealogy society, but I mean, it was
something. Okay.
It was a virtual genealogy institute. That's what it was. Virtual genealogy institute. I don't know that that's still functioning anymore. So, Mary, you've been to GRIP. What do you think the difference is between GRIP and SLIG?
So
I mean, they're run by different people, so they're going to be
different. They're run by different people, and I say I have been to GRIP. GRIP is typically held in Pittsburgh at La Roche College.
And that's the Genealogy
Institute of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Genealogy Research Institute of
Okay, I was going to say, wait a minute, what's the R for?
I was going to say, wait, there's the letter.
Not GIP, GRIP.
SLIG, Maggie, who else is out there?
And when I went, they actually offered a different week in Amherst, New York.
I remember that.
So it was at a different college. And I attended that one because for a couple of reasons. I mean, I knew somebody in town and I had a place to stay. And it was, Tom Jones was offering his mastering genealogical documentation, which I really wanted to take. And I could do some New York research, so it all fit anyway. So I have I can't say exactly. I mean, I've heard that it's, a lot of people stay in a dorm. They have the dorms. Some people do, or I did dorms when I was 20 and I'm not doing that when I'm 50. So they opt for the hotel.
But Sanford used to be in the dorms.
Yeah.
So and it's run very similarly. I think, at least from my experience. You have a course that you take every day. And I think that one, when I took it, I don't think anybody besides Tom Jones taught the class. I think he taught every single session.
Interesting.
But I'm not sure that is typical for a GRIP course.
Okay. I wish the other institutes would start implementing the virtual.
At least one or two classes.
Because I think it's a really good way. It's good for them too. It's a really good way to bring people in. It's a good way to test out, do I want to do this, or I just can't afford to do it that way. I can't go in person, but I will take it virtually. So I really do, because they don't teach, some of the classes are similar, but they all seem to teach different things. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different what Tom Jones teaches at GRIP versus what he was teaching at SLIG. And,
right.
you know, so they're a little different. It's not like you can say, well, I took it at SLIG, so I don't need to go to the other institutes because they're teaching the same classes.
Right.
They're just
yeah,
not.
there would be a different selection of classes.
Yeah. See, I think it's good when you're able to, it could be in the same realm, but when you have different instructors, I think it's how people also deliver and how we process and learn.
Right.
So
well, even the same instructors are not teaching the same things.
Correct.
At the different, you know, and so you get a little bit of twist on how is he teaching this topic at GRIP versus SLIG versus whatever else he might, IGHR, you know, whatever he might be.
Now, does GRIP typically only cater to Pennsylvania records?
No.
Okay, so the Pittsburgh is only where it's being held. Okay.
Just like with SLIG and Salt Lake, it's just
and
where
Maggie.
It's being held.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And the founders of GRIP are Pittsburgh. I mean, they live in Pittsburgh, so it was easier for them to have it there. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to. Before we go, I don't want to leave out IGHR because I don't want to get emails. You forgot us. I haven't been there. Has anybody been there? Okay. And you would think that I would have been there because it's just in Georgia.
And what does that stand for?
It's
you want to tell that?
Institute for Genealogical and Historical Research, I think.
Thank you. Yes. And so they're in Athens, Georgia. They just moved from Atlanta a couple of years ago.
Isn't that Sanford?
And it's
it used to be Sanford.
It used to be Sanford. Yeah. And the only reason so far that I haven't been is just the time of year hasn't worked out for me because of when it is in the summer and family reunions. It's not that I don't want to go. It's just a state away from me. Yeah. But at this point, the time just hasn't worked out. But eventually it will. And I'll go because they've got classes there that I would really, really like to take. I mean, Mark Lowe's there teaching Southern research. You know, I need to take that from him. So,
that's the Kentucky, Tennessee man right there.
So each of them has something to offer. And so each of them is well worth your time and the money. And I know it can be expensive, but when you want some in-depth learning and you want hands-on experience, these are the places to go. And if you want to meet others in the field that are perhaps researching in the same areas, you know, and sometimes in the same families, you are, especially when you've got these specialized classes, when you've got a class specifically on Virginia, like they had, or Maryland, they did one at SLIG on Maryland. Yeah. You know, they had to have people in there that were discovering each other's roots for everybody. So, you know, it had to have happened. So
Barbara Bynes Little
Virginia?
Yeah,
she did Virginia.
She did. Yeah. That was her last time again. So we'll see. We'll see. She's such a sweetheart. I hope that she just keeps teaching and teaching and teaching. Did anybody else have anything to say about SLIG? Any questions or any of the other institutes before we go? And it's so fabulous when I see people there. Yeah. I got to see Mary there, and we got to take some pictures together. And look, GenFriends live and in person. We got to see each other. So,
can I say one little thing? Actually,
yes, you can.
So this is, as I said, my fifth year in a row going to SLIG, and I had kind of a traumatic travel to SLIG this year. I got to the airport. My suitcase did not get to the airport. And so I was already kind of a little discombobulated. And then I took the tracks to downtown Salt Lake City. And I left my purse on the tracks train. And fortunately, I had my driver's license and my credit card and my cell phone with me. So I was not at a total loss. The people were so kind. I mean, you know, it really is a family when you go to these things. And, you know, I mean, I had somebody, dear Mert, you know, emailed me and said, I'm sending Mr. Mert over with $100. It was like, oh no, I'm not destitute, I'll be fine. But it was just so kind. And Cheri's friend gave me a gift card, a Starbucks gift card, so I could get some coffee. It just, you know, and
we were just getting ready to pass the hat. I mean, she goes, no, I've got my debit card.
Yeah. So,
but you were lucky on that. You really were.
Just the group. I mean, they are they're not strangers. You get there and you're among friends, and so
and
for
a lot of people, it's almost a reunion. They just go to these institutes wherever they may be. They go there yearly, and so you'll see Facebook people are going this year. No, oh no, you're not going this year. Things like that. And so, but even if it's your first time, you're going to be welcomed right in. You're going to be welcomed right in because
I think all the institutes are like that.
I think they are.
And once you establish that, the main thing I'd say to folks is, you know what? Keep in touch. That's the genealogy buddy that you want. That might be 2 states over, but again, you've went through this week of classes or 3 days, classes, and you know what? Who you going to ask questions to?
Exactly.
You got to have a genealogy buddy, and the networking is wonderful.
It really is. It really is. Well, I appreciate all of you being with me tonight, and I apologize. I can tell that I'm having a lag, so I don't know, something's going on with I don't know if y'all can see it, but I can see it every once in a while. I don't know what's going on with my internet tonight, but I apologize if it is looking weird when people watch it. I don't know. I can see me speeding up and slowing down on my side, so I'm not sure. You guys all look wonderful and beautiful, so I'm not sure what's going to happen when this is published. So I apologize for any weird technical things that may be going on. But thank you again, everybody, for being here and talking about SLIG and the other institutes. They are just, try the virtual. Try the virtual if you can't get there. I think you would really like it. It is different than a conference. You are just focusing and learning in one specific area. So I would really encourage you, and I will put links in. I know we've talked about institutes before, but there's nothing wrong with talking about them again, especially since we've just come back. And I really do encourage you to go. There's some good stuff, or go virtually. With SLIG doing the virtual, that's something to really, really take advantage of, is to try a class virtually. So we'll have all that in the links, and we will see you next time on GenFriends. Thanks, everybody.
Great.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.